To the Dynasty Draft Room. This is the Draft Seminar. I am your host, Matt Hicks, the FF Educator, joined by the Gridiron Scholar, John Lobb, for another episode here. Today, we're going to be talking about Laviska Shenault, the wide receiver out of Colorado. John, this is a very, very interesting prospect. One of my favorites after the 2018 season, but things have gotten a little bit more complicated since then. So why don't you go ahead and jump into our lesson here?
Matt, I couldn't agree with you more because I've been following this young man for 2 seasons now. I wrote about him in week 1 of the 2018 college fantasy football season as a waiver wire gemstone pickup. And I ended up picking him up on 2 teams, and he led me to the playoffs. But unfortunately, injuries derailed his season late in the year, and I didn't win the championship game in either league. So he's one of the more fascinating receiver prospects in the past decade. As a freshman, he volunteered for special teams and returned his first career touch on a fumble for a touchdown. Unfortunately, injuries have derailed his draft stock. He suffered a turf toe injury and missed 3 games in 2018, and he required surgery on his left shoulder labrum in February of 2019. He was also recently diagnosed with inflammation of a pubic bone and needs surgery to repair a core muscle injury. So the medical reports are going to dictate the draft value and where teams put him on their individual boards very much. But in 2019, he was second team all Pac-12. But you had mentioned it, Matt. In 2018, he was simply amazing. He was PFF second team All-American, first team All Pac-12 leagues coaches, and Jacob Van Eck Award as the team MVP. 86 receptions for 1,011 yards and 11 touchdowns. He's a multi-talented competitor, concluded his career with 2,223 yards from scrimmage and 17 touchdowns. But everything with Shenault is going to depend on the medical reports and how each team and organization, how they rate him as a prospect. Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, John. And we're going to go ahead and jump into his production numbers a little bit in a second here. But what I'll point out is that I think that as a coaching staff, you have to be really intentional about the way you use Laviska Shenault. He was used very well in 2018 and not so much in 2019. So I think this is a player, John, he may only be on 15 NFL teams' draft boards at all. But I think that there will be teams that have him very high atop their draft boards if he fits the type of creative-minded scheme that they're trying to employ. So as we, go through the tape and the numbers for Laviska Shenault, let's keep that in mind. And so, John, why don't we go ahead and jump into the numbers for him?
Very similar to who we were just studying, T. Higgins. There are some numbers I like, and then there's some yellow flags which bring down his draft grade. Now, he had 149 career receptions, so he's only 1 catch away from my benchmark, so that is great. But yards per reception, I was stunned, my friend. He only averaged 13 yards a catch during his career. And what's amazing about that, he did hit some huge home runs, but some of those were coming out of the backfield or on jet sweep. So he has these long touchdowns, but they weren't in the passing game. Now, his 2019 season was a little bit cut short because of injuries, but he had a nice catch percentage at 68%. Now, let's put that into context. The Buffaloes did not have an extraordinarily accurate or functional quarterback. So that's a very nice catch percentage in a poor passing game. And his team aerial dominator last year was 27%. Every defense wanted to stop him, but he still was the big producer in the passing game. Now, the combine was a little bit of a yellow flag here. His 40-yard dash was 4.58, but he alluded to some possibilities of injuries on that. But that is very concerning, let's say that, because on film he looked so much more explosive, and he chose not to run the 3-cone drill or the 20-yard shuttle. Right now, when I look at the totality of my evaluation, I have a second-round grade. But you mentioned it, Matt, which I couldn't agree with you more. there might be some teams that he's not even on their draft board, and then there might be some teams who have a high first-round grade. So what does the film tell us, Matt, about Laviska Shenault?
Yeah, let's go ahead and jump into the film, John, because it is some exciting film for Laviska Shenault, the wide receiver out of Colorado. And we're going to go ahead and start it out here against Oregon. Let's talk about how dangerous he is in space. He's an ankle breaker. He absolutely jukes out this poor defensive back here, is able to reverse field very quickly and extend the play. He is a straight line burner, too, and I chose this play very specifically against Colorado State because it leads to a DPI. You talked about his receiving numbers. One thing that shows up a lot on tape with Laviska Shenault is he draws defensive pass interference because defenders do not want to let him get the chance to catch the ball and burn him deep, and that's exactly what happens here on this play after he absolutely torches this cornerback off of the start here. They also utilize him as a goal line rusher. You can see here he takes the direct snap and he gets 10 yards, but primarily by churning here. You can see there's 4 Nebraska defenders trying to take him down, and he is just dragging them forward here on the goal line, but he does win contested catch situations here when he's not getting flags thrown. You can see he goes up over this Nebraska cornerback and dominates him. Now, you'll notice when watching the Laviska Shenault tape, the 2018 tape, like I said, is better than the 2019 tape, but I think it was the way that he was utilized in that offense and also the nagging injuries that we've been referring to.
Matt, you nailed it. There is some amazing film, and you do need to see film and games from both seasons to understand the totality of this prospect. Now, the first thing that when you start to watch him, he's 6'1", 227 pounds. He's thickly built with a stout frame. He is just this amazing rare blend of power, size, speed, burst with muscle elasticity, core power, and contact stability. He is awesome when you see him on film. He's also a ticking time bomb and fiercely competitive athlete with stupendous field vision. Whenever I watched Buffalo over the past 2 seasons, when they had the ball on offense, you had to watch, and you were excited to see Shenault with the ball in his hands because he could score a touchdown at any moment. He catches the football away from his body with strong, soft, and reliable hands, and he holds onto it throughout contact. He effortlessly transitions into a running back after securing the pass. He has astounding acceleration. When you watch him on jet sweeps, quick screens, and shuttle passes, he gets into second gear immediately. One of the things that I like, he has stunning short area burst with a deceptive jab step on film. He's versatile and tenacious player. He was employed at nearly every skill position on offense. He even lined up at the quarterback in the Wildcat. I really like this young man as a football player. I have a 2nd round grade. Matt, what does the Dynasty Draft Room say?
Yeah, here at the Dynasty Draft Room, we have him graded out at an 81.1. That is a mid-level starter projection. It's probably a bit higher than most folks have him at this point in time, but we like his tape. You got to keep the medicals in mind. You got to keep everything else in mind, but when it comes to the tape, we like Laviska Shenault. You can find all of John's fantasy football rookie profiles at footballdiehards.com, and you can check out all of my work, dynastydraftroom.com. That includes the 2020 Fantasy Football Rookie Guide, which is now available for download with 91 full player profiles, similar to everything we've given you here with Laviska Shenault, but with even more. And you can check out John on Twitter at gridiron SCHOL91. Lessons over, pencils down.